This project started with Luella Marshall from the Orange Mound Neighborhood and Veterans Association reaching out to me, and neither one of us knew what we could do for each other. She had this project that I thought was pretty cool, where it was like an anti-littering type of deal. You know, she's very concerned about the community of Orange Mound. And so what she had done in the past, is to take these receptacles and ask groups of artists to paint on them. And these artists were mostly from schools or kind of maybe individual artists, and even some people who were grouped together in the community. What I was trying to figure out as a visual artist who is really geared towards doing programs and projects was how could I integrate my skills with hers. And so what I wanted to do was create something that was a little bit more structured, something that spoke more formally to the arts. And so that's how I came up with Forms Meet Functions, from trash to treasure. The foundation of this was to actually get people who are working artists. And they are all level artists. Some of them are more established, like myself, but some are just wanted to just dig in. But the kicker was they are 2D artists, meaning they paint on canvases, flat surfaces. And so this evolved into a residency. And then from becoming a residency where the artists could come in and paint on their cans, I decided that I wanted people to kind of see the process of 2D work evolving into 3D work, being the cans. And so I asked the artists to bring in their work. I didn't want any kind of cheesy, do not litter, don't litter now. I didn't want any of that stuff on the cans. I wanted their pure artwork. But knowing that these cans were going to be functional and they were going to go out into the community and serve the community. And so the artists had all kind of difficulties trying to imagine their styles on a 3D surface. And so that's where the residency was required, where I ended up being with them from February, March, all the way up into this show at the University of Memphis. And so along the way, we've had like live shows where the public could come in, see them working on their cans, and also connect the dots between what they were doing with their cans, with the artwork. We had about 2 of those, and a great turnout, and we also were into public community involvement. So we actually formulated a can and had donuts on it for the public to come in and paint on that. And we actually, at the end of the game, got over 250 people to paint on that. Along the way, and things were just rolling in a kind of universal flow, we got asked to display these at certain events. And they served their purpose at those events. They were trash cans, even though people looking at them, they were real reluctant to throw trash in them. Is this a trash can? At the end of the day, you know, they served their purpose. We were at a citywide event, Art for All, where we brought all the cans out there and they served as art pieces, as trash receptacles. So that's where the concept of form meets functions come from. I'm convoluted in how I think about things. I have QR codes all around that are based on articles and documentaries that talk about environmentalism. And so I thought that was important, mostly because people tend to think that maybe Black people aren't concerned about this type of thing, environmentalism or issues other than, you know, just race relations, but we are. And so each artist was required to choose an article in their can or their artwork or it's like based on the environmental documentaries that they chose. I became a professional artist, I could say officially at the age of 16. I say officially is because I was brought on through my high school in a summer arts project, which was to paint murals around the city. And so probably like 11th, 12th grade, I was with that for 2 years. Got a paycheck, so that's what makes me professional then. And so the telling thing about that is that I was the only woman on that team of like 40 guys who could paint. Of course, that built me up. That built up my confidence. Temperatures were just, temperature outside, I think that was in the 80s, was like 100 degrees. And he would make sure that we would go out there and endure that, every day that we possibly could. So that's how I started. Then it evolved into me going to Lurlynn. I did not major in art at Lurlynn. I was an English major. In fact, I always wanted to be a writer. That art thing scared me a little bit because you're not quite sure about, what you're going to do. What you're going to do when you get out. You're going to do art, At least I knew as a English major, I could probably teach. And I guess you could teach art, but I just didn't see myself doing that. I did take art courses at Lurlynn. Then I expanded on until I went to North Dakota. Again, resisting art. But again, having professors reaching out to me, wanting me to join an art program. And so it ended up, I couldn't get my English degree. And so you know what they did? They pretty much gave me an art degree. And so I headed back to Memphis with not even knowing what my direction was going to be. But then our teacher from North Dakota was saying that he wanted me to get into the master's program at Memphis College of Art. I really kind of tensed up with that because I remember being a little girl going to Overton Park and looking up and seeing that building and thinking I would not belong there. It just seemed so big to me. And so I ended up getting a master's degree from Memphis College of Art. Took 2 years. Almost got thrown out. But then I had to come back again. Art history is the subject that got me. I had to come back again, and I know those professors didn't think I was going to come back, but I came back and I did get my master's degree in art. So went out into the world, was offered a teaching degree in art, and so I took it. Taught in high school. I've taught from pre-K all the way up to high school, and then now I'm teaching art in this college here, and you know what I'm teaching? I'm teaching art history, the course that I failed. So that's my story. I've always done community projects. People have always reached out to me to do it. I never felt like I had the confidence to do it, but I knew I had the smarts to do it, to get people together, divergent people, to come up with just kind of one goal, but still show that diversity. That's what kind of drives me with this kind of work, project-based work.